Good evening, West Orange, and our honored guests in council chambers tonight. Welcome to our Township October 29th conference agenda meeting, our last meeting of October. Madam Clerk, please read the notice.
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on September 26, 2018, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on October 4, 2018. Councilwoman Castellino?
Present.
Councilman Krakowiak?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Present.
Council President Carino.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you to my council colleagues. First on the agenda tonight, we'd like to make a proclamation to the Jensen family, particularly Emily Jensen, for Dysonoma Awareness Month. So I'd like you to come up to the podium, please, and we'll make the presentation. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Good evening to both of you, and thank you for being here this evening. You know, it's always nice. Roy, come on up, please. And if you'd like the rest of the members of your family come up, they're more than welcome to. Okay. We just like to make it's a courtesy. We thank you for being here tonight on behalf of the Township Council, the Mayor, and all the residents of the Township of West Orange. We always like to make sure that we note members of our community, especially dear members of our community, members who are facing difficult medical situations, that we'd like the people of our township to get to know that there is a condition and a situation that affects many people, including a member of your family. And it always is good to let our residents know, because this way they can reach out and help you. It's always good. It's what we're put here for. We're here to take care of one another. And it's something I enjoy doing these as rest as my council colleagues, township council colleagues enjoy doing too. So with your permission, I will read this for you. And if I pronounce it wrong, I apologize. And I can't read with these. So, proclamation. Whereas dysonoma is a group of medical conditions that results in a malfunction of the autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for automatic bodily functions such as respiration, heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, temperature control, and more. And whereas dysonoma impacts over 70 million people around the world and includes conditions such as diabetic autonomic neuropathy, vasovagal syncope, pure autonomic failure, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and I'm not a doctor, I'm an accountant. So, whereas dysonoma impacts people of any age, gender, race, or background, including many individuals living in the Township of West Orange, New Jersey. And whereas dysautonomia can be very disabling, and this disability can result in social isolation, stress on the families of those impacted, and financial hardships. And whereas some forms of dysautonomia can result in death, causing tremendous pain and suffering for those impacted and their loved ones. And whereas increased awareness about dysautonomia will help patients get diagnosed and treated earlier, save lives, and foster support for individuals and families coping with dysautonomia in our community. And whereas Dysautonomia International, a 501c3 nonprofit organization that advocates on behalf of the patients living with dysautonomia, encourages communities to celebrate Dysautonomia Awareness Month each October around the world. Whereas we seek to recognize the contributions of medical professionals, patients, and family members as yourself who are working to educate our citizenry about dysautonomia in the Township of West Orange. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Mayor Robert D. Parisi and the Township of West Orange and the Township Council of West Orange, do hereby proclaim the month of October a Dysautonomia Awareness Month throughout the Township. Thank you very much. Would you like to say a few words, please?
I wrote these cards, and you know, everything on here pretty much says what I wrote, but I spent this month advocating, you know, in Cleveland and other places, but it really means so much to finish this month off, you know, with this here in this town where I've grown up and spent the last 25 years of my life. So thank you so much to Mayor Parisi, to the town, and to the council. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily, and thank you to the Jensen family. You've all been a very active member of our community. And when you use the word isolation, I hope that isn't happening to you, because we as a community never would let that happen. So we support you, we're with you, and we wish you the best of everything. And God bless you. Next up on our township agenda, Councilwoman McCartney, would you like to make a presentation about Extra Mile Day?
Oh, sure. Okay, so on November 1st, their Extra Mile, it's a nationwide proclamation for municipalities that recognize the volunteers in our community. And there was a request for us to participate last year. That was our first year. And we're planning on doing that again this year on November 12th to invite all of our local organizations, all of our volunteers on our commissions to be recognized here in council chambers for your efforts on volunteering. So I don't have a proclamation. The proclamation was mailed.
There is the right there.
What do you want me to read this?
That's what it, yeah, that's what.
Oh, this is what was in the proclamation. It says, whereas West Orange, New Jersey, a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go that extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas West Orange is a community that encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. West Orange is a community which chooses to shine a light and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who do go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. West Orange will acknowledge the mission of Extra Mile America to create 550 Extra Mile cities in America. And this proclamation was mailed to that organization on November 1st. It's a way for all of us to say thank you to everyone that volunteers and contributes to the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
So invitations are going out to all members on our local organizations and commissions.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Mr. Gross, best practices survey?
Good evening. That's this time again this year to go over the municipal best practices survey, which I left a copy of at your desk here. Not to go over, but just to discuss. I'll give you an overview of it. One of the requirements the state has for us is it has to be submitted by the end of the day tomorrow. So there are a few things we're still working on here and hope to improve it. But to give you just a little discussion as to where we are now, this year's survey is significantly different than what's happened in the past. They've changed the format a bit. This year there are 78 questions, 38 of them which they consider core competencies. From that 38, there's a potential of 38 points, which we scored 37 of the 38. We missed one based on a couple of people that haven't completed their financial disclosure forms. So we're working on that through the end of the day tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to pick up that point. There's also 15 best practices, things that someone at the Division of Local Government Services has determined are things that they've determined that are best practices, which we may have some disagreement over those. Nonetheless, we lost 4.5 points from that portion of the survey. And then there are 25 unscored questions, which basically they're quizzing municipalities about what they do and how they do it, and in order perhaps to come up with future best practices for that. So all in all, we're required to have at least 30 points in order to not lose any aid. We had 40.5 points, so we've done very well once again on this year's best practices survey.
So I have a question.
Yes, Councilwoman?
Thank you. So I guess this is really to the municipal clerk, because I know that she sends these emails out all the time, but about your financial disclosure forms, to complete them, but they're done online. So how do you get a report that lets you know that there are outstanding?
There's a program that I go
Okay.
into, yeah, and it
So you
allows
know
me-
who they are and
exactly.
you can go after them? Okay. And we have until tomorrow to do that?
2 more emails were sent.
I bet. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else with questions? No. Councilman?
Just, I had a question.
Sure,
With
yes,
respect-
Councilwoman.
Thank you, Council President. With respect to the official social media account and establishing guidelines, I know that while we have someone who is designated to carry out our social media, is that something that is going to happen? We're going to have written policy eventually?
We're going to look at that. I mean, that's come up this year as a question, so
Okay.
it is something we will look at. We do not have formal adopted policies, but I can tell you that, again, it's very closely held. The mayor basically approves everything that goes out. So it's, that to the extent that we need to reduce that to writing, we will take a look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, anything? Yes, Councilman?
Thank you, Council President. I haven't had a chance to take a look at this, but I wondered if, I don't know if my other colleagues have either, but I wonder if, once you get this finalized and filed with the state, if you could send around that version to the council and then
Absolutely.
have more time, maybe we can
It will
talk.
also be posted online.
Okay, maybe we can talk about it.
I
next
don't
council
think it's going to change dramatically from where we are. There's a couple of things that we think, like that I mentioned, that we think are in flux, but for the most part, this is it.
Anything else, Councilman?
meeting. No, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes,
Actually,
Councilwoman?
one more. So on the unscored survey, all the questions toward the end, why would we answer no? Why wouldn't we want to receive additional technical assistance on some of these topics?
We talked about that with the mayor in terms of what obviously, if there's assistance to be held, you know, we certainly wouldn't turn it down per se, but, you know, the state has limited resources. And to the extent that this type of response to these questions may have them actually designate resources to us, which certainly wouldn't want to turn down. However, because of our size and nature and the expertise that we have, and the mayor felt that we were in pretty good shape in these areas, and that at least this is their first go-round of that. You know, there may be other municipalities that, quite frankly, might need it worse at this point in time, and that, you know, let them have that first round at it, because, again, the mayor felt that we were in pretty good shape with these. That's not to say in the future we would not, or if we had a specific question, then we would pick up the phone and call.
Well, I guess that's the other question, right? You could always call the DCA and get an answer, or,
Right.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Gross. Much appreciated. Update on redevelopment, Mr. Sayers, please.
Yes, Council President. Actually, I spoke to Mr. Diaz today, and we have a meeting with PRISM, I think on Thursday, regarding Phase 2. And right now, they have a total of 197 total units leased out down on Main Street. And I'm still trying to get information on commercial, but he's not giving anything up to me yet. So I just want to let you know that.
You know, I was going to ask that question.
I know. But they're up to 197 units leased out.
It's good. Out of a total of 300, right? 3-something?
330.
I think it's 330 is the
330.
total-
Okay.
total number.
So, more than halfway.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thank you. Any of my colleagues have any questions of Mr. Sayers about redevelopment?
No.
No? Councilman, nothing? Okay. Council liaison announcements. Councilman Kukoviac, any updates, sir?
I'm finally ready with something this council meeting.
Okay.
A lot of you are familiar with the successful Men Who Cook fundraiser that's conducted in the spring by the West Orange African Heritage Organization. There is another Men Who Cook fundraiser called Men Who Cook with a Purpose coming up on Saturday, November 16th from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Nia Fellowship Baptist Church down at 174 South Valley Road, West Orange. It's a fundraiser for their building fund. As some of you may know, Nia Fellowship moved into the church down there 5 years ago, and they've done a lot of work, and they still need to do a lot of work. One of the things that happened right before they moved in was they had an electrical fire in the sanctuary, and they're still sort of digging out on that. And on certain stuffy days, you can actually still smell a little bit of the burning inside the church, but they've installed air conditioning, so that's not going to be a problem. Anyway, we're expecting up to as many as 50 chefs. The tickets are $30 per person, and we're also serving a limited free children's menu. For more information, if you want to be a chef, if you want to order tickets or get more information, you can go to the church's website. It's niafellowshipbc.com/MWC, the acronym for Men Who Cook. Nia is spelled N-I-A. niafellowshipbc.com/MWC. If you want to just give me a call, if you need to find out something, please just do that. You can call my home at 973-736-7285, and hope to see a lot of you there. That's all, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman McCartney.
Okay. Just going back to this best practices, not really a question, but one of the questions is talking about public electric vehicle charging stations. And there is a grant pending. I know I have it here somewhere. There is a grant pending. It pays to plug in. So we are looking between the township and the Board of Education for more public spaces for electric charging stations. So, and that's one of the questions on this survey. Last Sunday, I wanted to say last Sunday with the West Orange Arts Council, just go to woarts.org because there's really just too much going on over there at the West Orange Arts Center between the workshops and the exhibits and performances. And last Sunday, we have a West Orange resident who is a filmmaker and produced a film here in West Orange called Diwaliween, and it was just such a snapshot of West Orange. We had the screening premiere at the West Orange Arts Center. It was really well attended, and it was an interesting story about a family that celebrates Diwali, but it coincides with Halloween, and just the mashup of how the children wanted to celebrate Halloween and the traditional Diwali celebration. So it was just interesting how the entire community came together to do both. And it's just something that West Orange does, so it was a beautiful illustration in film. So visit westorangearts.org to find out more that is going on over there. I know their holiday boutique is coming up where they have quite a few unique handmade items. December 7th and 8th, and 2 weekends, December 7th and 8th, Saturday, Sunday, and December 14th and 15th. The Rent-A-House will meet next Monday at 6 o'clock, so if anyone has any questions about the Rent-A-House or projects or ideas over there, please give me a call. I can take your ideas with me. The Planning Board is having a special meeting tomorrow evening, October 30th, here in Council Chambers. It's a special meeting to go over the re-exam of the master plan. and this will be the third public meeting. And then the regular planning board meeting is next Wednesday, November 6th. We meet here in council chambers at 7:30. In the chamber, the West Orange Chamber of Commerce has their annual Thanksgiving luncheon coming up on November 27th, Wednesday afternoon, day before Thanksgiving. Please visit westorangechamber.com for more information about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Matute Brown, please.
Thank you. Just wanted to update everyone with respect to the Municipal Alliance, who had their second quarter meeting on the 22nd here at 4 p.m. And they gathered to discuss the reduction of 18% funding that they will be receiving this year. Actually, not something that they anticipated, but the state has made a reduction because there is another municipality that previously did not participate and is now eligible to participate. So the 18% reduction actually reflects a cut of about $9,300 to their program, which will effectively also reduce the municipality's share in kind. So while it is an 18% cut, it wasn't a significant loss to them. They are still able to continue to participate with the programs that they have always participated in, which are BABES, COPE, which is the Center Prevention Program, LEAD, Let's Communicate. Project Graduation is one that they are, the state has questioned. As some of you may or may not be aware, Project Graduation happens annually, and there is funding from the Municipal Alliance that assists that program to exist. There is a question, however, from the state whether or not this is student-driven. Is there student participation? And if there's not, then that questions the existence of that participation. But the Municipal Alliance members did take a vote, and I know Dr. Cascone is looking into what the participation for students in Project Graduation is so that we can submit that to the state. So where their budget was initially $57,000 is what they anticipated. It is now $48,000. So I just wanted to share that with you, and we will keep you posted as to what happens with Project Graduation. But I encourage all of us, because it is something that's very important to our high schools and our community as a whole, to get involved. If you haven't participated or contributed to support, please do consider that this year. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Castellino.
Yeah, and I hope the participation, I hope that Dr. Cascone has the information they're looking for. As I last recall, things changed, but a few years back, the seniors, I think, participated $25 each to attend. And I know the various PTAs also contributed, so hopefully he'll be able to get that information to them, and they'll be able to reinstate that funding for them, because it's, as you stated, it's very important. So thank you for that update. Emily and the Jensen, really thank you for coming down. Knowing your beautiful family for so many years, and knowing all that you went through, seeing you tonight and seeing you do so well, God bless you. I mean, you had some tough years there, and coming out and to advocate and to have reach out to other families, because you'd be that one person listening to you on out there, and it's important because you had some tough years, and really glad to see you all here tonight and back. So thank you. Very important for you coming out. Thank you to the West Orange Recreation Department on Saturday. What a great day. Beautiful weather. Over 40 dogs came out to the West Orange Dog Parade, and it was so adorable down at the farmers market. Thank you to Candy Myrick for organizing on behalf of the rec, and to our citizens, residents, Laura Lapp, Stacy Reese, and Sarah Zorn. As usual, they outdid themselves. Just an adorable event. a lot of fun, and just having the families all come down in costume with their pets, it was quite entertaining. So good time was had by all. And again, another great weekend at the farmers market, having it there and having them having the parade there, just, the vendors were thrilled to see them. So the, farmers market, I'm sure my colleague will have his announcements for that, but it will be running to November 23rd. So make sure you stop down and support. It's been such great having everyone there, and I see our Boy Scouts walking in. I know they've been helping on the weekends at the farmers market, so make sure you buy their popcorn when you're there, because very important. They've been working really hard volunteering, so we appreciate that. And later in the evening, the Halloween celebration up at Liberty Middle School, so thank you again to the rec, long day for them, and the West Orange Rotary Club for once again providing refreshments. It was a great night, great costumes, and they got it in before it started raining. But we're excited. We have some other events coming up. I thank our PR Commission members for being out there on Saturday, handing out postcards for Downtown Alliance for upcoming events, and just a great day by all. So just a lot more to do this fall. Out there December 7th will be the Holiday Open House, sponsored by the Rec in the Downtown, and Breakfast with Santa in the morning at Washington Street School at 9 a.m. So we'll keep announcing the announcements and look on the website for all these great things. I know Joe Fagan is here, is going to talk a little bit about at the Edison Museum, the book reveal of the book Edison. That was a great event as well, and he'll give us some more details on that. That was an exciting event. For our senior citizens, a lot of activities. Conversations on Life series continues tomorrow on the 30th for advanced care planning from 1 to 2:30 p.m. at the West Orange Public Library. And also two great events tomorrow night as well. We have our high school play, William Shakespeare's Long Last First Play at 6 p.m., free event for our seniors. It's a dress rehearsal, so we'll be providing transportation. That is at 6 p.m. And for the rest of us, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, it's at 7 at the door, $15 at the door. And also tomorrow night, with the rec sponsoring the West Orange Community Band, will be performing at Liberty Middle School tomorrow night at 7:30. So a lot of great events this week. And I just want to congratulate Posture Perfect, Dr. Carmine Aldonardo, for celebrating his new location on Northfield Avenue. We had a ribbon cutting with the mayor last night, and just really excited. Carmine's grew up here in the township. He opened up his Posture Perfect Chiropractic Center over 20 years ago on Eagle Rock Avenue, and moved to a larger new location. So we appreciate another successful business here in the township staying and reinvesting in our township. So congratulations to him. Thank you, Council President.
You're very welcome. Yes, Councilwoman.
I do. I'm sorry that I didn't say thank you. Forgive me for Roy and Kitty and Emily coming out. It's nice to see you all in one place and not traveling to Ohio for I don't really know how many years. I know it's been over 15 or something. So it's great to see you back in West Orange. Thank you for, I still don't know how to pronounce it. I knew it was weird, and just raising awareness is important for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay. I want to also say to you, Emily, too, I know things that are happening and stuff that there are many people who suffer the same thing, and also there are many people who suffer a lot of the symptoms, particularly diabetes, which is the #1 thing that people don't realize, that when you have diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2, it hides a lot of conditions, particularly cardiovascular. There are people who have cardiac problems, people who are having heart attacks who don't realize it, because when you have diabetes, it hides the symptoms. You don't have chest pains, you don't sweat, you don't have pain down your arm, but you have pains otherwhere. You have the numbness in your toes, the numbness in your legs. So you're bringing about something not only for this awareness, but for awareness of a lot of other things, and thank you. You're a very brave person, and we're here for you. You always know that you have a family in West Orange, not just your family with you there, but you have your family up here and all the 48,000 residents of the Township of West Orange. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Moving right along, pedestrian safety. We are planning to have another townwide pedestrian safety meeting, hopefully at the high school, to go over the accomplishments that we've made with the assistance of Mr. Lepore in the Department of Public Works and the County Engineering Department. So working with the Department of Transportation, the Safe Streets concept, we are planning to have another big town meeting early spring, around February, to let the residents come and see what we've accomplished, things that we're planning to do, working on the list and how we've cut down the list of outstanding things that Professor Charles Brown developed for us with the students from Rutgers University, and it's all coming into play. Also like to make a big shout out to our students from the West Orange High School who are members of our Pedestrian Safety Advisory, who are working very diligently with their fellow students with safety issues, advertising, monitoring, and getting the word out that, look up, don't look down when you drive. So we're really excited about that. I will be presenting, hopefully, the next township meeting resolution, hopefully supported by all my council colleagues, to request the Board of Education to implement a Safe Streets Routes to School. It's a program that we need to have. We've been very successful in a few of our elementary schools, particularly the Kelly Elementary School, which has a really active Safe Routes to School program. So now the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board, through Easy Ride and through the Department of Transportation, will be asking the Board of Education to implement a Safe Routes to School. It's very important, and we're moving along, and the volunteers on the Pedestrian Safety Board are really, really adamant that we need to follow through in this, and we will. Okay, the other thing is I'm going to be asking my colleagues to support a resolution to the New Jersey Department of Transportation Highway Division to put sidewalks on the rest of Mount Pleasant Avenue, on the state portion of the roadway. We've looked into it. My advisory board feels it's something we should try to do. We'd like to get it done. Hopefully we can do it in conjunction with Marion Drive construction when that begins, to put the sidewalk in up from Mount Pleasant up into Essex Green. So hopefully my council colleagues will support that resolution. It's just requesting the state. We're not, we're saying we would like to see it done. It would be a benefit to our residents, particularly those who live in Englishtown, who would like to walk up to Essex Green and make it so they don't have to drive, which I believe and my board believes is something very, very beneficial. And I'm sure many of our residents here and at home feel the same way too. It's just another way of making the township more walkable. Our whole goal with pedestrian safety is to make our community walkable from one side to the other, and it's something that's really good. And it's exercise. If you notice the health issue, especially with our young children, the obesity rate is increasing because our young people don't walk, they don't exercise, they don't ride their bikes. But if we can give them the access to do it and have them walk, particularly to school, it would be a health benefit. It would solve a lot of problems. So I look forward to my council colleagues and township supporting this. Speaking of downtown, of course, a big shout out to Stacy and Rob Reese for the most fantastic job of doing a farmer's market, of making it more than a farmer's market, particularly, as my colleague said, with October, which was fantastic. Sorry, I don't have a dog anymore, but it's so it's really good. But you folks should come down. It goes to the 23rd of November, is the last Saturday for the farmer's market. We thank them. We thank them for the work. We also thank David Drill, who owns the property at 80 Main Street, for allowing us to use his property to do the downtown farmers market. So it really takes a lot of people. It takes a village to pull things together, and we're doing it. And we thank all of you for coming out and supporting. If you haven't been there, you missed some great food, you missed some great novelties, and just meeting your neighbors. You'd be surprised on people you run into. It's just phenomenal. Coming up in November will be, Restaurant Week will be coming and being planned by, the public relations. No, when?
Not November.
Oh, not November, okay. She told me the wrong month, okay. But I'm sure that the publicity organization will be working on the Restaurant Week, and we thank you for that. She gave me the wrong month. March, okay.
The end of March.
6 months, okay, 6 months. I apologize. Also, coming up in November, though, definitely, is Small Business
Yes,
Saturdays.
that is coming.
And that is a great program sponsored by American Express. A lot of our merchants really benefit from people coming downtown, and not only downtown, throughout the whole township, for Small Business Saturdays, which is a phenomenal program. Lots of promos, lots of gifts, lots of good specials going on, and get to see what's really downtown. There are things down here that you'd be surprised, and things that you're going far away to find when you have them here, particularly like Schneider Hardware. I go to Schneider Hardware to ask some questions. I don't go to Home Depot. I get the right answers at Schneider Hardware. So we look forward to that. Also coming up, too, is the holiday open house. That'll be towards, the end. And Breakfast with Santa, again, will be had, and it'll be at Washington School again, Councilwoman?
Yes, 9 a.m.
Okay, very good.
December 7th.
And of course, you'll have your council members here on the bus giving you a tour of the downtown corridor in Llewellyn Park, so we look forward to that again. We're getting better and better every year because now we know the script, so it gets a lot easier. A big call out to our fantastic West Orange Fire Department for a fantastic and successful fire department open house last Sunday. Big turnout, a lot of kids. The firefighters showed the kids how to rip apart a Chevy Camaro. So it was really, they wanted to do it, but we couldn't let them do it. But they saw how they can make a hardtop Chevy Camaro a convertible in 60 seconds and less. So it was really good, and a big call out to them. I also want to call out the West Orange Police Department, particularly the Traffic Bureau, for all the assistance they give our Pedestrian Safety Board. We couldn't do it. We couldn't get the data. Thank you to Pat Matullo for giving us the crash data, which really reflects what we look at and how we gauge. And our numbers are pretty good, and they're getting better. And it takes everybody here to be a little bit more encouraging of how you drive. Don't text and drive. Don't look down at your phone when you're crossing the street. Pay attention. And that's all we ask you to do. It's very simple. Don't watch your phone and communicate while you're crossing the street. The same thing with bike riding. Yes, we would love to have bike lanes, but the roads in West Orange are not suitable for bike lanes. They're not wide enough, but they can still ride on the streets, and there's still things that we are planning to do, but you have to share the road. So when you're a bicyclist or when you're driving your car, please share the road. Give them the courtesy they need, and they'll give you the courtesy too. It takes one. It's a trade-off. So we ask you for that, but we're not saying there's not going to be bike lanes, but we're working on a number of things. But the way our traffic engineers have told us, our streets and our roadways were never constructed and are not wide enough to accommodate safe, sufficient bike lanes. But we're not giving up. We're working on a lot of things. Other than that, also too, we never talk about it, but I do represent you on the joint meeting. And the joint meeting is the joint meeting of the Sewerage Authority that handles the waste management and sewage treatment of 12 communities throughout the area in Essex and Union and other small communities, including the large municipality of Elizabeth. We spoke about the construction project in the Capitol that you approved. The construction is beginning very shortly. The status, and also from FEMA, we'll be getting our FEMA funding, so we shouldn't be hit with any surprises. And the facility will be performing at above and beyond the environmental protections dilution ratio that will make Essex Union to be in the forefront of pollution control and water purification. So I want to give you a call out for that. The construction will be starting very shortly. The engineering plans are completed. So now we're just waiting for the break ground, and I will give you updates as it moves along. So thank you. Anybody else have anything to say before we move on? Yes, Mr. Fagan, our township historian.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I'd just like to take a brief moment before we conclude the conference agenda to talk about something that happened this past Saturday at the Thomas Edison National Historical Park. There was a national book release. Unfortunately, the book release was bittersweet. Edmund Morris, a Pulitzer Prize-winning author, completed the book after nearly 7 years of work, and he spent nearly the last year researching the book at the Thomas Edison National Historical Park. Unfortunately, Mr. Morris passed away in May prior to the release. Fortunately, his draft was submitted, and the book was released this past Saturday, as I mentioned, in a ceremony at the park, and it would have attracted national attention had he been there, but he certainly was fondly remembered by his editor. And this launches a multi-month presentation of the book. It's called One Book, One Town, West Orange Reads Edison. And for every month beginning November 10th through April, there's going to be presentations at the Thomas Edison National Historical Park discussing various aspects of the book. It is not necessary to read the book. The book is 800 pages long. These presentations will be standalone sessions that you can come and just learn more about Edison. The first one is November 10th, 2019, and the speaker will be Joe Fagan will be the speaker, and I will be discussing Chapter 2, or Part 2, as Edmund Morris classified it, and it will be Edison during World War II, during World War I, I'm sorry. So I have flyers up here. I have flyers outside the council chambers. The Thomas Edison National Historical Park has been a great partner with the town of West Orange, and they deserve our support, and I encourage your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. I also wanted to call out to the township clerk. Thank you for the Halloween decorative dais thing, so thank you.
You're
No
welcome.
candy?
Sorry.
No? Okay. I can ask. Okay, Madam Clerk, our public meeting?
This is to inform the general public that this meeting is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The annual notice was emailed to the Star Ledger and filed in the Township Clerk's office on September 26, 2018, and published in the West Orange Chronicle on October 4, 2018. Councilwoman Castellino?
Present.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Present.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Present.
Councilwoman McCartney? Present. Council President Garino.
Present.
Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? The council is now in their public meeting.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. I would like to open the meeting now to public comment. If you'd like to address the Township Council, please raise your hand, and when you come up to the microphone and podium, please fix the microphones, speak loudly into them, and let the clerk hear your full name and your address. So anyone wishing to speak to the Township Council? Yes, ma'am.
March?
Yes.
March. Marge Mangan, 30 Davy Drive. I'm speaking on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees. Good evening, Council President Garino, council members. As we see the glorious colors of oranges, red, and yellow gather on the ground and the road, and also we see the many reminders to set our clocks back the hour that we just lost in the spring, One needs to kind of reset our spirits for the coming darkness of the evenings and the joy of our holidays. So let me just mention a few things that the library does to enhance your joy during these dark days. Driving down, it was kind of misty on 280. I always get a little nervous driving on 280, but I was thinking, you know, how wonderful to come and listen to all the great things that you council people do. You really need to be thanked. You thank everybody else, but you really do a great job, and I think the residents of West Orange really appreciate it. So let me just highlight some of the things that the library is doing for the month of November. Our adult programming, November the 2nd, we have crocheting, and that's open to all ages. I could never learn how to crochet. Maybe I can try now. On November the 6th, we have Understanding Medicare for 2020. It's open enrollment, I believe, until December the 7th. We have the AARP Defensive Driving course that's given at the library. That's from 10 to 4 in the afternoon. But the benefit of all that is you learn the recent changes in the driving rules, and I believe you get $150 credit to your automobile insurance, and I've taken advantage of that many times. November the 11th, Make Your Own Cheese. I believe you mentioned that, Life Strategies for All Ages, and that's in the evening. On November the 13th, we have Planning for Your Passing and Other Funeral Needs. And if you go for an annual physical, your doctor, by law, needs to ask you if you have planned for your certain documents that you need to have, that every hospital and every PCP, primary care physician, requires that you have. So if you haven't done that and you need some help in doing that, that's the program to go to get it straightened out. On November the 17th, we have How You Can Help the Birds in Winter, and we do have a lot of birds, and they do come around our houses, so maybe you can help them with putting out some seeds and such. And November 20th, we have Paper Trails New Jersey presents a Thanksgiving cornucopia. For children's program, we have, again, our program with Creature Comforts, the practice of reading. Very young children practice reading to therapy dogs. They're very gentle dogs, and that's really good because they don't have the adults peering down at them, but the dogs are very mild and playful, and kids love to do that. November the 8th, it's a do-it-yourself crafternoon with origami, and that's something I never learned how to do either. November the 13th is Move to the Music of Bollywood, so that's open to all people. And of course our story hours and our clubs, Lego and chess, they're throughout every weekday. And with our Teen Zone, we have 2 sessions for college essay editing. That's important too. That's November the 10th and November the 13th. And that's always a stressful time for our seniors and juniors sometimes, making sure you get your college essay straight. Just a note that our library closes on 5:30 on Wednesday, November 27th. That's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and we are closed for Thanksgiving. The library trustees, the Friends of the Library, and patrons, again, will be collecting for our troops. I don't know whether you had mentioned that before, as the council mentioned that. It was very successful. I found out that there were 165 boxes put together for our local servicemen. So donations, this is, there's a list on the website of all the different goods and goodies that you can provide for our servicemen, and donations will be accepted. There's a box in the library, and I believe there should be a box here at Town Hall. So you can donate until November 30th. And one final word of thanks is for the folks who helped and patronized the Friends with the book sale that was held in early October. and it was very successful. We sold close to 1,500 books. 1,000 of those books were for children, and that is a wonderful way to get your children reading, but the problem is they're very expensive even if you go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and their shelf life is very short. So, of course, we encourage you going to the library to borrow the books, but if you want to have them for a long time, you know, as your child grows, we encourage that. And it was very successful. And I'd like to thank our many volunteers, including Councilmember Michelle Castellino, and Jersey Mike's and Essex Green supplied our volunteers with lunch that Saturday. So thank you so much. And thank you for this time, and have a happy Halloween and a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Marge.
And if you could just pass this on so that our one council member who isn't a friend can join. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marge. Is anyone else wishing to speak to the council? Yes, Tammy.
I'll do it right now. Good afternoon, evening. My name is Tammy Williams. I am here on behalf of the Human Relations Commission for West Orange. Just wanted to remind the council and the public about a few upcoming activities that the HRC does on a monthly basis. So as we approach November 1st is First Friday, and we have senior line dancing at the Renner House. Third Wednesdays, which will be November 13th, we have line dancing at the Degnan House. So we are inviting all of the public to come and join us at either facilities. We do have a dance instructor that helps our seniors, and believe me, our seniors are a lot more energetic than some of us are. So it's a fun time. Also in December, we are going to have a joint senior community line dancing activity at the Renner House. That will be on First Friday, December the 6th. That will be our holiday party, and the public is invited and more than welcome to attend. So we hope to see some of our regular seniors in attendance, as well as visitors and guests. And perhaps we can get Santa Claus to make a surprise visit. Those are the upcoming activities for the Human Relations Commission. Also of note, we have 2 open commissioner positions. Councilwoman? Thank you. So if anyone is interested in volunteering or serving for the remainder of this year, please don't hesitate to contact our councilmen as well as our mayor. But we would look forward to some additional support for our Human Relations Commission that focuses on diversity and inclusion in our community. So please join us, and then also please do save the date for January 20th. Which is our MLK Day for the community, township. More details to follow, but please do save the date. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tammy. Yes, in the back, I'm sorry. Sue, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Susan Lenchik, 234 Eagle Rock Avenue. Over the last 2 months, quite a number of citizens have spoken before this council in support of the purchase of the forest bordered by Mount Pleasant Avenue and Ridge Road to preserve it as open space. At the last council meeting, you responded with questions and concerns. And following the discussion, you voted to proceed with due diligence. Thank you for that vote. Only by conducting due diligence will you be able to find the answers to your questions. During the mayor's open office hours 2 months ago, on August 22nd, a number of citizens met with him to discuss various environmental issues in the town, including the purchase of this property. Mr. Sayers, you were also present at that meeting. The mayor stated clearly that he would consider the purchase of at least part of the property. And I'm wondering whether in your discussions and correspondence with the administration, whether this view was expressed. Because I know some of you expressed that view during the last council meeting. But I want to say that I think it's essential that the entire parcel be preserved. The size of an undisturbed area influences the species that are found there. Many species need the insulating effect that a forest interior provides. If any part of that forest is developed, that insulating effect disappears. Regarding the question of public access on a private road, I believe that the Ridge Road residents own not only their properties, but up to the center line of the road in front of their property. So if the township purchases the forest, West Orange would own half of the road in front of the forest. Wouldn't that make this portion of the private road, in essence, public? Since the forest is at the beginning of the road, visitors to the forest would not have to disturb the private property owners or drive past any of their properties. There was also some mention that it might be necessary to move one of the stone pillars at the entrance to Ridge Road. If the forest is preserved for passive use, only adding walking paths, it does not seem likely that it would become a sort of destination that would attract so many crowds and so much traffic that road widening or removal of a pillar would be necessary. Township engineer Lenny Lepore mentioned that most of the runoff flowing down Mount Pleasant Avenue in the area of the forest actually comes from the north side of the road. If that is true, then preserving the entire forest is essential. Any development of any part of it would create more non-porous surface area from which rainwater and snowmelt will run off. The sloped area will reach a saturation point sooner and would create another source of runoff to add to the current runoff from the north side. It was noted that some of the trees near the wall might have to be removed because they may damage the wall. There was some concern that the removal of trees would lead to more runoff. The town could easily plant native herbaceous plants to hold the soil in place, plant some trees, or let the forest itself fill in the gaps left by removed trees. Another issue is the loss of tax revenue if the property were to become public space. I don't deny that this is a valid concern, but please remember that you cannot put a price on the environmental benefits provided by the forest. How do you price clean air? How do you price cooler temperatures in an increasingly hot planet? How do you price runoff control and erosion control? There are some challenges associated with preserving the property, but we can overcome those challenges. Maybe we ought to start thinking of this forest not as a piece of real estate, but rather as a part of the common wealth of this township. It is a treasure that ought to be held in common by all the citizens of West Orange. I see I have a few more seconds left. I wasn't sure I'd be able to ask a question, but I do have a question about the issue of access. Is it true that all properties that are preserved as open space have to be publicly accessible and have to have public use? And I wonder whether all of the properties that we do have are that way. I was wondering about Wiley Terrace in particular. I don't know whether that has public access and public use. And I admit I might be mistaken. I think it may not, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Yes.
Chris Babinski, Shop Stewart, Teamsters Local 560, West Orange Communications Operators, West Orange Police Department. Good evening, council members, council president. I'd ask that, I don't have anything written down, but I got a lot on my heart, so if I run a little bit over, I'd ask for a little grace. Allow me to introduce myself for those of you that know me, or most of you know me, whoever doesn't know me. I'm a township resident for 40 plus years. Out of those 40 years, I've been employed by the West Orange Police Department for 30 of them. I went through the district school system here. I'm vested in the community. I'm a single father of one, my beautiful son Dylan. Now you may ask yourself why I mentioned that, but I'll touch on that later. When I first started working for the police department 30 some years ago, it was a go-between job, it was a pickup job. People came here, they either had higher Ideas of becoming a police officer are just college kids picking up money. I had 2 buttons I pushed back then. One was for the telephone and one was for the radio. Now it's just a push button telephone, so if I lost a caller, I just had one single ringback button that I would hit in the hopes that maybe they would pick up so that I could find out why they're calling. A lot of times it ended up with people walking into the police department, someone with a black eye, someone that got robbed, because a connection wasn't made. That's 30 years ago. While the basic job hasn't changed, what I do is what we do. We comfort people in time of need. We console people who lost a loved one, manage an active fire scene, try to quiet someone who's angry, who may have had their car stolen or other property stolen from them. It's not easy for 8 hours a day, sometimes 16 hours a day, seeing people at their worst. In the early 90s, OTS, the Office of Emergency Telecommunication Systems, who's now governing the 911 Commission, came out with the Enhanced 911 System. It gave us better capabilities, the ability to have 911 information provided to us. It's called Annie and Allie information, available line and number. We can get addresses. We can get longitude and latitude, where we could track missing persons. Also, with the enhancement, the liability increased tremendously. I could tell you what didn't increase was the salary. You see, we have the pleasure of doing all this, listening to people involved in domestic violences, listening to people who had their cars stolen, listening to people as they cry as their houses burn. While you all sleep comfortably in your beds at home, this stuff goes on. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that doesn't make this a bad town, but bad things happen, and this is what we do. This is our job. And you could have the pleasure of doing this for a starting salary of $21,180, below federal poverty level. Manage that. The people you put in charge of saving lives, you're first responders, because as soon as that call is connected and made, we are on scene. We are responsible for ensuring the safety of our police and firefighters. We are the ones who are there first, and we see people at their worst. And we get to do this for $21,120 starting. I could go to Burger King and drop fries for $25,500. What's the value you put on this position? What's the value you put on your first responders to have a police department who's the lowest paid in Essex County, lowest paid fire department? Now, I advocate for both my police and fire brothers. Why? Because they stood up here and advocated for me. And I stand with them. I should advocate for them. I get to tell them where to go every time. So why not speak up for them too? Now, I mentioned before some of the things that I value. I value my community. I value my job. And I mentioned my son for a particular reason. In the 30 years that I've been here, I've seen 179 people. I've stopped counting at 179 people that have gone through the greatest training facility in the world, the West Orange Police Department Communications Division. Now, I paid for my son to get his certifications at Union County Police Academy, $450. I paid for him to get his certifications, his enhanced 911 training at Essex County Police Academy, $350. And I paid for his CPR certification, which is another $80. I hope you all wrote those numbers down. Tally them up, multiply them by 179, and that's what you just threw out the window. We are not paying a competitive salary here to retain a healthy employee base. We're getting lay people that are coming, getting trained, and walking out the door. And if you play your cards right, and if your timing is right, I'll tell you right now, you can get a job here. We'll train you. We'll give you the best training for 3 months. And you can go to West Caldwell to walk in the door. Starting salary, $47,750. Starting, council people, starting. Now again, I mentioned my son and his training. I paid for that. Without any training, he went to the Montclair Police Department. He does what his father does for 30 years. I'm making $52,000 after 30 years. He walked in the door to make $48,000. How do you expect to keep people here? Paying them below federal poverty level. It's disgusting. It's more than disgusting. I have female members, and I speak directly to you 3 females here. Michelle, Cindy, Susan, you should be appalled that my members, single mothers of 2, 3 children, are working 2 and 3 jobs. Year to date, you have members of your communication center that are working 78 weeks. It's 52 in a year, I believe. I think, is he at 52? We have people working 78 already. Why? Because we can't live on the salaries. We can't live with the salaries we're getting. We're asking for a fair contract. A 5-year contract is, to us, it's just not doable. It's not doable. Why is it that we have to pay the insurance premiums that we're paying? Myself, I'll use myself as an example. Based on my salary, I pay 15% into my health benefits. Why wasn't the state health benefits plan put on the table as part of fair and equitable negotiations at a savings of $4 or $5 million to the township? At a savings to the taxpayers of $4 to $5 million. Why? I have a high school education, high school diploma. I'm an idiot. When you throw all these numbers at me, I can't figure them out, but I can figure this out. 15% out of my pocket versus 6-7% out of my pocket. Is that better? Is that equal to or better than? In the 30 years I've been here, I've seen a lot of equal to, but I'm not even seeing that now. Very rarely, never have I seen better than. I don't even see equal to. You have members both of the police, the fire department, and communications division that are getting balanced billed now for stuff that was covered because insurance policies are being churned and churned and churned for a better rate for the town, but not for your memberships. And again, I'll use myself as an example. Life deals you a lot of crap that you got to deal with. I see a counselor once a week. I'm not ashamed to admit it. My counselor even advocated for us. With the old insurance policy, January 1, '99, I was paying $40 out of pocket for counseling. April 1st, '99, the policy again was churned to another vendor, another insurance agent. Now, I have to pay $104 out of pocket if I want to go see my counselor. Is that equal? Is that better too? So what do? $416 out of pocket? I can't barely make ends meet with what I'm making now, working 78 hours a week. And yes, I'm one of the guys working 78 hours so far. The overtime is incredible. It's devastating. And it's wearing us down. So what do? Mental health services, one of the most important things for your first responders. Taking a loan this year, 9 New York City police officers took their own lives at their own hands. If you think it's easy seeing people at their worst for 8 to 16 hours a day, try it. It takes a lot of guts to do what we do. It takes a lot of strength to do what we do. And we feel devalued because we're not getting paid. to do what we do. Now, does it make it any better? No, but it lessens the time you have to deal with it. I'm 53 years old. I'm out of time. I'm out of patience. We need relief, and we need relief in a fair contract. That's all we're asking for, a fair contract. And I need all of you to advocate for us. Be the voices that will not come up here. I will come up here, and I'm not going away. As a union representative, I will continue to be here until these salaries are adjusted to what is competitive. You're not even paying a competitive salary in this career field. It is a career field. It is no longer a go-between job. So for $21,120 before deductions, before your pension, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, union dues, whatever else, live on it. My members are required to. That's why they don't stay. They can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm at top pay. I can't do it. You're looking at a guy that fought foreclosure off 4 times. I can't do it a 5th. Please don't mistake what I do up here as arrogance or anger. What is arrogant is to be told at the negotiation table, why are you here? If you can make so much money somewhere else, go somewhere else. Nice. A resident of over 40 years that's invested in the community and an employee for 30 years. So to those that want to ask me the question, why are you here? Why are you here? If you don't want to deal with the concerns of your first responders. Pay the police department what they deserve. Pay our fire department what they deserve. And pay us what we deserve. I'm tired of going to the negotiation table and being treated as if I'm coming in with a gun and a mask. I'm not looking to rob anybody. $47,750 starting. $48,550 starting. You lost a member that was here that I trained personally. Gave him the best damn training he could ever get. Got 3 months experience. Starting. Went to East Hanover Police Department for $50,000. It doesn't make it better how much you get paid. It just lessens the pain of having to sit 8 to 16 hours, 78 weeks to date, seeing people at their worst. Why am I here? Because I love my job. I love my community. I love the fact that I can make a connection with you, Jerry, anytime you want. And you know that the other voice on the phone is me. I'm in a position where I can genuinely help someone. I am the first responder. It's not easy having to explain to a 78 or 80-year-old woman to drag her husband off the bed and begin CPR. Try it. It's not easy listening to someone who comes home to a loved one who's a victim of a homicide. It happens, and it happens here. I know because I lived it. I recently had to console one of my members, a baby, 20 years old, who tried to initiate CPR, and the person fell out on her. She hung up the phone and was in the brink of tears. And the only consolation she got was, it's okay, you did your best. You tried. No closure. We never get closure. Why? because there's another call behind it. And we don't stop. So please don't mistake for what I'm saying up here as arrogance. It's not anger, it's passion. And I'm not going away. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else wishing to speak to the Township Council? Mr. Puglisi.
Hi, Anthony Puglisi, representing County Executive Joe DiVincenzo. Just wanted to make you aware of some upcoming events. I won't go into detail because they are starting in November. Well, first of all, on October 31st, we have our Halloween at Turtleback Zoo. That's trick-or-treating. Despite the forecast of rain, we're going to continue that. It'll be probably mostly indoors at our picnic pavilions. And then just to give you the heads up, beginning November 22nd is the Holiday Lights Spectacular at Turtleback Zoo. 5 to 9, the first, it's 5 to 9, and then it's going to be held the weekend of the 22nd, the weekend of the 29th, and then we go every day starting December 6th. All that hasn't been posted yet, but will be on the Essex County website, which is essexcountynj.org. Thank you.
Anthony, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Councilman.
I just, do you have the dates for the early registration? Can you talk about that happening at the zoo? Is that happening at the zoo at Essex County?
Early registration.
I'm sorry, early voting.
Early voting.
Early voting.
I can get you information.
Okay.
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay. I know it's on our website. I just didn't know if you had that with you.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Question for you. I just wanted to get an update. You may be done with it. I haven't driven by the zoo recently. The parking deck that you were working on, is that completed yet, or the third?
The structure is complete. Once the structure is complete, now they're doing the lighting, fire suppression, and all that other those other things. So that, I believe, is still on track to be opened in the middle of December.
Okay, great. And then, as we discussed earlier at previous meetings, you feel that would alleviate a lot of the issue that you've been having with the larger crowds?
Yeah, like I said, just anecdotally, when we've had the larger crowds, we've counted how many cars have been parked at the Cherry Lane field, and those cars have never exceeded over 500. It's averaged about 300 or so. The capacity of that parking deck is 500. So anecdotally, we feel that all those cars will never make it to Cherry Lane anymore, that they'll fit comfortably in that new parking deck.
And I guess just to be a little proactive, because this happened last year, we get a freaky, like, 70-degree weather in December.
Yeah,
on
I mean,
a Saturday,
I'm never going to say, like,
traffic.
Yeah, I'm never going to say that that's not going to happen, because there are certain events, certain holidays, days off from school, and like you said, if you do get the good weather to coincide with that, you know, there may be an event that creates that need, but it wouldn't be on a regular occurrence like it's happening now.
But will you have staff out there to direct traffic into the complex? Great.
Yes.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anthony, thank you. Also, when will we get the traffic study? Because that's going to be key to understanding what goes on, particularly during...
That's part of the master plan, and I've been told that that'll be ready before the end of the year, so...
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the Township Council? If not, I close public comment, and I open the comments to my council colleagues. Councilman Kukoviac, would you start, please?
Sure, thanks. Thanks, everybody, for coming up and speaking tonight. Appreciate it. A real variety of folks. I just want to talk a little bit about Ridge Road. Ms. Lenchek was up speaking about it. I guess we'll talk about it later at length at Matters Pending. But the municipal code and the state charter under which we operate is pretty clear, and it became crystal clear today when Mr. Kaiser sent us a a legal ruling that really seemed to delineate what the council responsibilities are and what the mayor's responsibilities are. And in these two cases, one with the Ridge Road and the other with Mr. Babinski talking about the labor contract issues, our form of government gives the mayor, I won't say immense, but significant power in negotiating contracts. So what happens with the negotiations with our unions is the administration and the mayor negotiate the contract and then bring it to the council, which can either accept or reject it. And it's the same thing with purchases of real estate, purchases and sale of real estate. The law gives the mayor tremendous power to control all of that. So we'll go into it further, but I just want to point out that as much as we would like to be more influential on some of these issues, we're somewhat constrained by the form of government that we operate under.
Yeah.
And I think I'll just leave it at that because we'll talk about this a little bit more at matters pending a little bit later in the meeting. Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman McCartney.
Joe, thank you for that preface. Because when Chris came up to say that he didn't have a prepared statement, it was obviously not arrogance. It was obviously heartfelt. Years of training. We've known each other many, many years. Years of training and years of life experience. And we're not at that negotiation table, so we don't see that. And we didn't even discuss this at the budget hearing. We didn't. During our budget hearing, that was, I'm sorry to say, was not a topic of conversation either, starting salaries. So it's really up to the administration to tell us where we are with negotiations, because, you know, we haven't had an update. So I'm lost. I don't have any words. Of course, we value what you do. We understand through the, Tammy Williams didn't mention about the Suicide Prevention Coalition that we started a few months ago. The police are directly involved in that. When we hear their stories as well, being on the scene, as you said, during the most upsetting moments of their life. So yes, and you're even before that because you're getting the call. So we'd have to hear from the administration where we are with the with the contract negotiation. Ridge Road, Susan Lesnick asked a question about Ridge Road. I'm still uncomfortable using open space public funds to purchase of parcels on a private road. There is not even enough money in the open space fund to purchase that, which means it's an additional tax burden. Besides taking the properties off of the tax revenue side of the ledger, there would be an additional tax burden to bond for the rest of those parcels. You know, it's not about access. It's not, there is no public use. There would, I don't foresee a public potential for that parcel. And I also don't believe that it's an imminent threat of development. So I don't consider that a priority right now for taxpayers. Tammy, thank you for everything that's going on with the HR, and save the dates, and thank you. And Marge Minion, happy belated birthday. I just want to say that when our director, Dave Kuby, came on, I sat with him to just hear about his philosophy, who he was, where he came from. As a veteran, he had this vision of making the library a community center. And listening to everything you just said and the educational outreach from seniors right on down to toddlers, you mentioned some, and you even threw in the environment there about natural habitats, with other communities are undertaking right now how to create that natural habitat in their backyard. Seems like his goal has been accomplished, so thank you for everything that goes on over there. It certainly is an asset. Could you stage that? It's always going. I was just going to say the library is certainly an asset for the community, so thank you for the update.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Matute-Brown.
Thank you. Marge, happy belated birthday, and thank you for sharing all of the updates.
Friends.
Thank you for sharing all of the updates with respect to upcoming events at the library. I am thrilled to hear that close to 1,500 books were sold. That's big, and 1,000 of them were for children. And I started to complete the membership form because I am the only council member who's not a friend of, but will be after this evening. So thank you for sharing all of those wonderful things. Tammy, thank you for what you're doing with the HRC. I know you have at least one commissioner that I know personally that I'm very excited to have joined, Mr. Jones, Dr. Jones. And I hope that those other 2 vacancies will be filled fairly soon. But looking forward to, I saw a post that you shared with respect to social justice coming soon. Really excited. I skipped Montclair's one because I'm going to wait for the one that you're going to host. So I look forward to that. Thank you. Susan Lemchek, I have to echo, is she still here? No. I have to echo what Councilman Krokowiak said. You know, we all are, well, the majority voted in favor of having the due diligence, oh, there you are, having the due diligence with respect to acquiring the land, and we were asked what due diligence was, and the response is just what Councilman Krokowiak said. So I don't want to say our hands are tied, but there is, you know, the bottom line is that if the mayor decides that that is the route that we're going to go, then that'll come to the council at that time. But please trust that we have advocated and will continue to advocate alongside. And I want to thank you for your advocacy tirelessly, for coming to town council meetings and you know, going out into the community and raising awareness, because there is no price that we can put on our environment. I agree with you. There isn't any price that we can put on our environment. So hopefully we can continue to work towards that same ends. And I do disagree with my council colleague in part with respect to the imminent threat. Imminent being immediate, right, foreshadowing something that is going to happen, but administrations change. So if we don't preserve it, we don't know what administration will come in next and what they will do. So that is a consideration of mine as well. But thank you for your advocacy, and trust that we will continue to have conversations. And Chris, I want to start out by saying 2 things. You're not an idiot, and thank you for being here, and please do not go away. I've never been shy to express my utter support for our first responders. I am extremely concerned, and have said this over and over again, with respect to the quality of first responders that we are able to maintain here, because it matters. When I look at surrounding municipalities, and I do look at surrounding municipalities and see what they're starting their first responders out, it is a concern for me. We don't have the authority to negotiate. But I will remind everyone, my council colleagues, is that we do have the authority to hold the purse strings. That is our responsibility. There are requests that are made to approve things that may come up. I would, you know, consider them carefully, particularly with these contracts still outstanding. It is utterly disgusting that we can sit here, have passed a budget within the confines that it was passed, and there are members of our community that live below the poverty line. There is a Senator, Kelly Porter, who, if you Google her, she did on the floor a presentation of what living below poverty meant. And the example she gave was of someone of $34,000 salary, 34, far below what you're expressing today. After all of the living expenses, all of the minimal living expenses, she was in debt $711 a month. This is not acceptable. And I am sorry that this is the position you are in. But as far as I am concerned, I just want to thank you personally. You spoke passionately. I really appreciate you bringing this to light. I am also a union person and a labor supporter, so I stand in solidarity and always have with all of my union brothers and sisters, and I look forward to your continued solidarity, because I think that when you mentioned why wasn't the state health benefit plans at the negotiation table, clearly we're not there, but we have asked that same question, and the response has been because each union has to agree to be in the state plan. So if that is an issue, then that's a conversation that the shop stewards should all have. But I do stand in solidarity with you. I hope you continue to, unfortunately, make the sacrifice, but fortunately for your well-being and your mental health, continue to seek counseling, and I hope that other members of your department as well, because I can't imagine what that is like. I'm choked up listening to, just a semblance of what you represented. And thank you. And please keep coming back. That's all for me, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Castellino.
Chris, I'm going to save you to the end. Marge, thank you, and I feel bad. Happy birthday didn't pick up, but Marge should be credited. She's done tremendous work with the Friends Group and the book sale, and to all the books that get dropped off by all our residents. She's one of very few people that put them all in order on those bookshelves. So we appreciate that and all your hard work, and we appreciate, all that you do. So thank you. And she serves on the board as well, so double duty, and we appreciate your time. Tammy, I know the residents are enjoying it. Thank you, and the rest of the commission for doing this, because it's great. They're having a great time. I attended one. I'm going to try to get to another one, but they really are dancing away, and I agree, lots of energy. So appreciate that, and I'm working on someone for you, so hopefully we'll get somebody soon. Susan, in regards to Ridge Road, I echo all my colleagues' comments. However, I'm just going to throw something at you. I did agree, because I like to do something and looking towards that path. And as far as administration moving forward with official due diligence and incurring costs to the township, that's not going to be, we won't be moving forward in that direction right now, but still have many conversations with Mr. Kaiser, Mr. Gross, Mr. Lepore. My issue with the property, as much as I like to do something, is I feel it's grossly overpriced, and I feel it's challenged. It's challenging as in regards to development as well. So there's a lot of issues that are there. You talk about the driveway. We'd have to acquire easements from each of the property owners, and so all the property owners would have to want that, and I'm not sure if every single one of them do. There's some other items, and I want to talk about challenges on someone's property in public. So that's where my stumbling block has been moving forward with this process. So, and again, the administration does want to move forward at this time. There was again, I stumble because I don't know, Mr. Kaiser, jump in if I shouldn't be saying something, so just stop me if I get to a point. There's been...
I'm going to point out that everything what I sent to you in the way of emails is really not attorney-client privilege. I wasn't offering any legal advice. So.
Well, I'm sorry, as far as talking about the, in regards why I feel that the purchase at this time with the pricing that's there, I'm not supportive of. Also with the open space monies that are in the kitty, how we would finance it. So I would look for a part of it, not for all of it. And I know many on the open space committee, they don't agree with my opinion on that. But again, there's a lot of challenges, and I could talk to you at another time. But to back up to what my colleagues have said, that's the way our government is structured. To simplify it, we counsel strong mayor. And not to say that we don't interject our opinion and try to find a way around things. So we'll see where this goes moving forward. Chris, I've known you for a long time. To see you come down here was very heartfelt. And I knew that took a lot for you to come up here and speak. I know that wasn't easy for you, knowing you for so many years. And I would like to make a motion that we go into closed session at the end of the meeting so we could have an update from Mr. Sayers on where we're at with negotiations at this point in time. I think it's important that we get an update. So I'd like to make a motion, if anyone would like to second that.
I'll second that. Jen?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
Yeah, I think it's good that we get an update. It's hard, I know, I was on the negotiations committee when I was back on the school board, negotiating with the teachers union. I know things are said in heated moments at the table. So hopefully whatever is said, hopefully everybody can walk away at the end of the process. And it's not easy. You're there for hours, it's sometimes not a good thing. But in regards to the starting salary, I know I've expressed my opinion to administration before about this, and I think, I'm pretty sure it was 12 hours worth of a budget hearing, so I don't expect everyone to remember everything that was said. Our brains were pretty fried. But I think when we got to these line items, I had asked the question again about this salary, and I know I've had conversations with Mr. Sayers. I do feel this is extremely low starting salary. I hope negotiations at the end of the process, it will not be any longer. But again, we'll get an update during the process. But thank you for coming down and everyone who came down to support you. And it's tough. Negotiations are tough. And the health care really needs to be fixed, and it's hard for me to say this, but not hard for me to say it. I get upset, but this has been going on for 10 years now. It keeps increasing, same or better. These plans are crazy, and they have to keep changing them because of the cost and trying to find a way to make it affordable. And I just hope our Congress could all start talking to each other and try to figure this out, so we're not having issues here. You're at our level fighting with our unions. So again, and the state plan has to be negotiated within the union. They have to vote on it. So it's not like we could say we could plug that in. That has to be voted on, and as my colleague had just stated. So hopefully we'll get an update and we could talk about this a little later. But Chris, just one thing I'd like to mention. I want to thank you for all the work you do for the Township Food Pantry. You spent countless hours volunteering your time, and again, for you to come up here tonight, I hope it's noted. So thank you for coming out, and all your colleagues for coming out to support you. Council President.
Thank you. Thank you, my colleagues. I want to start off by addressing Chris. I've known you many, many, many years. And tonight, when you came up and spoke from your heart, I didn't think that was a threat. I didn't think that was being obnoxious. I didn't think it's being you. You're a caring person. You care about your colleagues, all of them. And it's a hard thing for me. I mean, people shouldn't have to work that way. People should be paid a fair wage. It's something, you know, I support, something that needs to be done, and we will discuss it. We will do, and I believe I speak for my colleagues, we will do what we can do, and hopefully maybe a little above and beyond. But, and this is not cheap talk. I've known you. I've known you a long time. And you came up here tonight and you felt comfortable to talk to us the way you did. Because that means you, like we have respect for you, you have respect for us. And that's the way you know, the way it is. And so thank you. And thank you's cheap. It's not, you know what I'm saying, but you know me. And I care about all our first responders. And we need to do what we need to do. And I concur with my colleagues, and I promise you we'll do the best we can. It won't just be cheap talk, but we'll do what we can do. But we thank you, and may you always have a safe tour out there. I wish that to all of you, to all our first responders. Marge, if you need 400 more children's books, I can get them to you, believe me.
can do the same.
You know, we've been shipping them out. You know, it's like as family and friends have kids, we're shipping them out. But I still have 400, and so. But congratulations on a great thing. I bought a number of books, but I didn't buy kiddie books. I bought, you know, books that I can read. But thank you, and continued success to the library, to the trustees, and to the friends of the library. When it comes to Ridge Road to me, I mean, it's a private road. It's a private road with issues. And we have so many other open space areas that need to be addressed. I do know, and Councilwoman, correct me if I'm wrong, there is an inventory being done on additional open space properties.
There's a presentation tomorrow evening at the Planning Board with the Open Space and Recreation Plan presented by the Land, well, it was prepared by the Land Conservancy, and that will be discussed and presented tomorrow evening at the Planning Board, special Planning Board meeting.
Thank you. So those are the things we have to look into. We can't use all our money to spend on one piece of property, but also there are other conditions, there are other issues, other exposures. So these things still need, but it's on a private road. And Green Acres money in the law, and correct me, Mr. Kaiser, oh, he's not here, okay. The Green Acres law says that it must be used for preservation and recreation, and the key word is "and," not just one, not one or the other. It's both. So it's something that I guess we're going to talk about in matters pending. I thank you all for coming tonight. I thank my colleagues for their courteous responses and their deep concern for our employees and for our issues. And I thank you all for coming and speaking your mind. And I thank the county and Mr. Puglisi for what you bring to the Township of West Orange. So that if anybody else has anything to say, I'll close public comment. And yes, Councilwoman.
I just wanted to share with respect to the question I asked earlier, the early voting by mail that's happening at the Turtleback Zoo. Thank you. I'm looking. It's at the education at the Educational Center at the Turtleback Zoo. Is going on currently. Tomorrow, today's the 29th. I'm sorry, October 30th, Wednesday, from 11 to 5. You may vote in person by mail. October 30th, 2019, Wednesday, from 11 to 5, and then again on November 1st. November 1st is a Friday, November 2nd, Saturday, and November 4th, a Monday, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can vote by mail in person, so please make sure if you have your vote by mail ballot that you take it down between those times. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. And Councilwoman, if I may...
It's not by mail.
No.
Just to clarify, it's not by mail, it's just, you're actually voting,
Yes.
it's an early voting. You're not mailing anything, and it's an early vote.
It's early voting, vote by mail. Okay. I was reading right
No,
off
no,
the
no,
flyer.
that's not,
Today
I'm
was the
glad, I'm
last day
glad
to
you
vote
did.
by mail.
I just want to say the one thing, I don't know if you said it, Councilwoman, that the location is the ECEC.
Yes, that's
Bill,
what they
okay,
said,
thank
yeah.
you. So, and remember, Election Day is next Tuesday, so please
November 5th.
use your,
Election
thank you,
of
Councilwoman.
consequence. Thank
Use
you.
your right to vote. Remember, there's school board and there's state legislative elections going on. So please, don't just sit home, vote, and go out and do that. Anybody else have anything else to say before I close public comment? I close public comment. Madam Clerk, continue the consent agenda.
Okay. Approval of minutes of previous meeting, public meeting October 10th, 2019, and ABC Board special meeting October 21st, 2019.
Consent.
Consent.
Report of township officers, none. Reading of petitions and communications and bids, none. Bills, are there any questions on the bills?
Consent.
Consent.
Resolutions, are any resolutions being pulled this evening?
Councilman, oh no, I'm going to start this side, sorry. Councilwoman Castellino.
261.
You're pulling that?
Yeah,
Which resolution?
yeah. I want
261.
us to have discussion.
Okay. Councilwoman Matute Brown?
I'm pulling 245.
Anything else, ma'am?
Yes. 246. 249. And Councilwoman Castellino already pulled 261. Thank you.
Anything else, Councilwoman?
No, that's it for me.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Did you pull 259? 259?
what?
259.
259? Anything else, ma'am?
That's it.
Councilman Kukoviac?
None. I just have a bunch of questions.
Sure.
Nothing to pull.
Okay, let's answer your
Can we
question.
go through the
Yeah, move, I'm
pulling
sorry.
in consent first, please?
Thank you.
Hold on one moment, I'm sorry. Are you ready?
Mine were pulled already. so-
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is implemented.
Okay. Madam Clerk, we'll start with Councilman Kukoviac's questions. Councilman Kukoviac?
Yes, thank you. There were 3 resolutions pulled from tonight's agenda. I just wondered why they were pulled.
Mr. Lepore?
Various reasons. If they come back, we can explain to you them individually, but
Thank you, Mr. Gross, for that.
For that soliloquy?
Vicki was looking for a little bit more from you.
You like that one,
It's just unusual to have three resolutions pulled, so I was just
I see Mr.
looking.
Lepore getting up, he's getting down, he's getting up.
Maybe not.
I'm sorry, I was trying to be cordial, and I'm sorry I wasn't. I
Don't be
apologize.
sorry, sir.
there's different reasons for each one, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. We could end up spending a half hour talking about something you're not going to act on tonight. If they come back to you, we certainly would explain to you.
Okay.
That's better.
Just on agenda item R, Resolution 260-19, I just wanted people to know that that's a resolution that we approved it. It was for the purchase of a replacement ambulance.
Yeah.
We're having some issues with our aging ambulance fleet, and this is the start of it. It's going to cost us almost $142,000 for an ambulance, and it looks like we're also looking at another one now too. If I understood the fire chief's email correctly, is that understanding you're looking to maybe get another one too? Okay. That's all. I had questions on stuff that was pulled, but I'll just wait till those come up.
I had a question on
I
the
have-
same
oh.
one before we move on.
Do you want to answer on
It's on
what
the
he said?
same, on the
Sure, go ahead,
26,
Councilwoman.
yeah, since we're on it already. I know that on the 26019, in the now therefore clause, number 2 says township purchasing agent shall be authorized to enter into a contract on behalf of the township, and a purchase order issued. I just wanted to point out that the letter did say that there wasn't a contract needed, just a purchase order. So we're not entering into a contract, it's just a purchase order?
Well, purchase order is a contract.
It's just because it said here.
Sometimes the terms are used back and forth.
Okay, just wanted that clarification. Thank you. That's it for me. Thank you.
Any other questions, Councilman?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, first resolution that was pulled?
Okay, Councilwoman Matute Brown, you pulled Resolution 245, resolution authorizing the Township Council to withdraw from the New Jersey Department of Environmental and Protection Green Acres Project, West Orange Township Multi-Park Development Project, Lafayette Park, and other projects at this time.
Okay, so I pulled it because I did have a couple of questions, and I did see the responses that Councilman Kukoviac received when he questioned this application, the withdrawal or not accepting the funds. So I did read in that Lafayette Park will be renovated, only it will be used, renovated through our capital expense budget?
To the extent that when we move forward with it, it'll be through our capital. If I could on this, maybe just to give you an overview about this.
I appreciate that.
About what this resolution is really about. It is not, it's very unusual that we would turn back a grant. However, with the acquisition of Rock Spring, and the fact that we are currently using the entire site for recreational purposes, if we were to accept a Green Acres grant at this point in time, one of the requirements when you accept Green Acres funds is that any land that you're using for recreational or open space purposes becomes dedicated in perpetuity to that use. Therefore, if we were to accept the funds from this grant, we would not be allowed legally to carve off any of the portion of Rock Spring for development. So since that is our plan, until such time as that land that is identified and we do a subdivision pulling that property off of that, we are not in a position to accept Green Acres funding until that time. We are about the business of getting to that point, so we hope that that's not going to be a long period of time, but for right now we really can't accept anything new. And this was one that was in the pipeline and awarded prior to us acquiring Rock Spring. But because of that, we now have to deny this so that we don't get ourselves into an issue with Rock Spring. So all the other things that we wrote about are all true, but they're really not relevant to the purpose. The purpose
as to why we're not. So that leads me to my next. When was this awarded? You said it was in the pipeline.
17. I think 17. I think 17.
In 2017.
For Lafayette.
For Lafayette. And then that's why in the now therefore clause, as you just pointed out, and any other open.
That's just in case there's something out there that we've talked to them. They say no, but we put it in because we don't want Green Acres coming back to us with some type of a legal requirement that's for something crazy.
Okay, and then my last question just.
The money's a loan. It's not a grant. 75%.
Well, there's grant and a loan, but
75% of the grant is a loan to the township. So they're giving us the money not as a grant. They're giving it to us as a loan, and we're going to have to pay it back.
Just one follow-up. I just want to write down 75% of the grant is a loan. Okay. And just because it just, when Mr. Puglisi was here, and then thinking about something, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not very well versed on this, when the county executive, and I'm just trying to make parallels so I can better understand a whole picture, when the county executive, when they applied for Green Acres funding for the bear exhibit that they wanted, and then recently had the state reallocate those funds, what is that process called?
Can you repeat that?
They applied for and were granted Green Acre funding for the bear exhibit. And then now that they are moving towards they no longer are going to do a bear exhibit, then there was an application that was made. I recall Anthony Puglisi speaking on that during one of our council meetings to sort of reallocate. I may not be using the term correctly, but the funding that was granted for that is now going to, an application was made to use that funding for the proposed amphitheater. What is the name of that process?
Okay.
And why aren't we doing that?
Well,
because of the clause.
Number one, it has to do with the type of funds it is.
Okay.
So, in other words, we actually have some funds that we could and will be doing that with that have been allocated to us. But that's a different type of a fund. Those are usually acquisition funds. They can be development funds, but it really depends what pot at Green Acres it's coming out of. This particular one does not have that available to us.
And do you know what that process is that the county used to reallocate funds?
That in itself is embedded in the grant itself.
Okay.
It's just the type of grant it is itself. So,
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other, on the same resolution? Yes, Councilman Kukoviac.
Just want to get clear on the money. The combination grant and loan was for about $45,500?
No, that was the grant portion.
That was the grant?
That was the grant portion. So 3 times that was the loan.
Okay. So...
we've not spent any of it, obviously.
Well, we spent some of it.
We spent some of our own money.
Some of our own money, yes. Yes. What,
We haven't spent
this,
any of their money.
right. This was a project not only to put in a futsal court at Lafayette Park, but also to do some improvements over at Degnan Park, I think.
Correct.
With the
Correct.
the softball field.
Correct. And as part of that, there was a lot of environmental that had to be done on our dime beforehand, which we have done quite a bit, if not all of that. But so that we'll be able to continue on in the future with the project.
Right. Just a ballpark figure, Mr. Lepore, on how much the entire project was projected to cost?
At Lafayette.
Well, both, they're all presented.
The grant was about 200,000, so I think it was a little bit more than, I mean, not including the environmentals, but.
Yeah, between the two parks, it was probably upwards of around, probably going to cost about $250,000, but I don't think the amount of grant and loan was going to quite cover that once we got into it. And then I think, as John Gross was saying, once we started to find out that this was a project like any other Green Acres monies we've had, but never really applied it for construction, where when we've acquired properties, there's preliminary environmental assessments. A preliminary assessment rarely comes out clean, where there's some area of concern that needs further investigation. Well, that's just what happened here. And despite the fact that Lafayette Playground or Lafayette Park has been a park for as much as, I hate to say, my mother used to walk from East Orange up to the end of Park Avenue to play in it. It's been there for probably the better part of a century, but still, you have to go back and trace the environmental history.
Right. Could you just tell me how much we've spent so far on the two different locations? Because I know we did run into some environmental concerns at Degnan Park. Just
there was, for environmental work between the two parks, we've spent about $39,000. And we did proceed with design work at Lafayette, and that was almost $13,000. We were getting ready, we're almost ready to bid that project, but for the acquisition of Rock Spring Club, there was about $1,000 left over for bidding purposes there.
So we're roughly about $44,000 in on the two projects?
Right, which has, had us have further discussions in the administration about how we proceed with some of these applications, because we were barely going to get the grant to cover our out-of-pocket expenses, let alone the loan that would have to be paid back.
Right. So just a quick question. Where were these funds coming from? Were any of it open space funds?
Capital improvement funds.
Capital or open space funds, yeah.
Yeah. Could you just find out how much open space was used for this when you get a chance, please? Okay. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were done with your, is there another resolution from Councilwoman Matute Brown that got pulled?
Yes.
Two more.
Did it get answered?
No, we didn't get to it yet.
They've been pulled, so we would...
Question on
I'm sorry?
this park.
Yeah, you have to vote on it.
Councilwoman Castellino has a...
Okay. Fine, go ahead.
I just want to ask Mr. Lepore, so what's the plan now with getting these projects done?
That's going to be part of our capital, it may be part of the capital budget if we still want to proceed with that.
Okay, so you don't have definite...
We haven't,
So
once...
we're talking the spring
Yeah.
then, you're looking at this, or?
Well, it's going to be still subject to funding and putting in the capital budget, because by the time we really decided on the capital budget, we really were just starting to the purchase of the Rock Spring Club. So it wasn't really considered how in 2019 we would do any substitute funding for that.
And it was a futsal?
Futsal and a volleyball.
And a
court
volleyball at Lafayette.
At Lafayette.
And Degnan?
I would anticipate that we're going to see this as part of the capital improvement request for this year.
Okay.
Coming up.
And Degnan was the softball
Degnan
field?
was some regrading of the softball field, but we're even, looking at possibly some artificial or synthetic turfing there, or
Yeah,
maybe
'cause
just
of
the
the-
infield, just because it's so wet there all the time.
Yeah, the drainage is bad. Okay, just wondering. Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to approve 245-19?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Matute Brown pulled 246-19, resolution authorizing the township to include the listed principles in the next master plan revision and re-examination report, and to update the land use, zoning, natural resource protection, and other ordinances accordingly.
Thank you. So I pulled this just more so for discussion and understanding purposes. My first question is, are these principles, I know that we're updating the master plan, so are these principles required to be included by regs or statute to be amended, incorporated into the master plan? And if so, are these typical boilerplate, if you will, language that's included?
Great.
Yes?
Okay, good. So I'll give you history. Back in 2016, we have been part of, well, actually back since 2007, we've been part of the Sustainable Jersey program. And there are hundreds of things that we have to complete. And one of them, under land use and transportation here, is the Sustainable Land Use Pledge. So we did get approved back in 2016 for adopting a Sustainable Land Use Pledge. On our recertification for this year, which was due September 2nd, they gave us a chance to review that this Sustainable Land Use Pledge, according to Sustainable Jersey, needed to be updated. So only a few weeks ago, I guess, or a couple of months, couple council meetings ago, we adopted another one, right? So that was there. That was really a repeat of what we had. But they've added more. So yes, it is a template, and yes, it is part of the master plan, or we're going to incorporate it in part of the master plan. And since 2016, if you look at some of these, like regional cooperation, transportation choices, some of these titles, we have by ordinance adopted a sustainable checklist, so that all planning and zoning applications, it's included, so an applicant has to complete this sustainable checklist on any application they submit. As far as regional cooperation, for every application, I've made notes here that we have a 200-foot radius, so that other municipalities are well aware of applications that come before us. Just recently, Babcock, the application from PRISM on Babcock, that is right on the orange border. When we heard West Essex Highlands, which may come back soon, that's on the border of Verona and Essex Fells, so that other municipalities are notified that something's happening. We adopted a complete streets policy, as you know, a few years ago. And now, as you've sat through enough zoning and planning board applications, now you see we were talking about sidewalks just before. Every application, we are looking at all of the elements that are included in the Sustainable Land Use Pledge. The natural resource protection, we talk about steep slopes and trees and our natural resources, but right here it says we pledge to complete a natural resources inventory. I like that it's added when feasible because it cost about $10,000 to do, and we don't have $10,000 right now to do that. ANJAC, which is the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, they have, you said the word template before, they do have a template where the municipality can do their own. I have a copy of that, but the Environmental Commission, we haven't tackled that yet. Something we are considering. And mixed land uses, you've already seen at Executive Drive, residential, retail, commercial, that's all going on. So these are all different ways that we are pledging that we are looking at all land use. Green design, housing options from affordable housing, for sale, rental, and municipal facilities. That was the other one. Consideration factors such as walkability, bikeability, everything that we've talked about on all of our applications.
Okay, and just to be clear, I mean, again, this is all boilerplate. It's not that we're looking at or discussing or having conversations about moving municipal facilities. I just wanted to be clear so that if someone reads this on the agenda online.
But think about, okay, so to that point, though, this is a discussion, if we do have to move DPW.
Yes, I did think about
which we do, so all of these factors will have to, be considered.
That's it for me, Councilwoman.
I'm taking questions now. Yes.
So I guess now...
You didn't ask me, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were giving me the green light to start
Go ahead.
speaking. You gave me the old. So in regards to transportation choices, I don't see anything for the jitney there.
Council President.
Well, that would be transit and automobiles. That's included in public
Can I speak to this
transportation.
whole resolution, which, by the way, doesn't say resolution on it, at least mine doesn't.
Yeah, mine doesn't either.
It's just a blank, at the top it's blank. This is nothing more than an expression of intent
Yes.
of the
But-
council. It's not binding on anybody. It doesn't have the force of law. It's not legislation. It's a
But it's
resolution.
things that we're already doing, and it is part of our recertification, and we do get points for it, and they're asking us to complete this, and the planning board and zoning board already look at all of these features.
Okay, so
this is just memorializing.
So I get that. I know this is like happy piece of legislation, which you know that's not one of my favorite things to do, things that don't count.
Mine either, but
In this case, we get points for it for a recertification.
Okay, I get that, but I just want to make sure when we're talking about the master plan, incorporating items into the master plan, under transportation, I like to see jitney, and I also like to see somewhere, if this doesn't count, but in regards to housing options, we've been proactive anyway, with senior housing, aging in place initiatives. Remember I went to the planning board meeting with the survey and had asked for all this to get implemented with the master plan, the aging in place initiatives. So,
and you just saw that with the 65 units being built above the library, so we are looking at
but that will be in the
senior
master
housing.
plan, all these great
Right here,
buzzwords.
foster a diverse mix of housing types.
The senior housing isn't in there, so I think it should be.
It could be spelled out, yeah.
you are going to get the master plan and vote on it, so.
Yeah. No, I understand.
And we have different elements. We do have a circulation element.
No,
yes.
I understand that, but again, we're doing this. I like to add it to it if it's possible.
Sure, but, I think that falls under the fostering a diverse mix of housing types.
You gain nothing. You gain nothing by doing so.
Right.
Okay, so
Because
when you come to us with the copy of the master plan that we get to review, somewhere in there with transportation choices, we'll read jitney and
That's already in there.
senior housing.
A lot of that is already in the circulation
And the words
element.
aging in place.
No, but we can put it in.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to approve 246-19?
So moved.
Second.
Council.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
249, resolution awarding a contract for fall 2019, spring 2020, and fall 2020 tree planting with a watering option to Louis Barbato Landscaping, Inc. Councilwoman Matute Brown, you pulled this.
Okay, I just had a couple of questions with respect to this, because I noted that the previous contract was for spring planting, where am I? Spring of 2018 and spring of 2019. And when I'm reading this letter and resolution, it does talk about having the spring 2020 and fall 2020 subject to the 2020 budget. However, the fall 2019 tree planted would be done through a purchase order. So I just wondered why that was being done that way.
Mr. Lepore, can you answer that?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lepore.
We're, first of all, we're going to plant trees this November, and that you're authorizing tonight. But then what you're further authorizing us is that we're going to award the fall, spring 2020 and fall 2020 planting, subject to budget appropriation next year, and not necessarily coming back to you for you to reauthorize that, assuming all the planting material is available.
Okay, and also I just had a question with respect to the bids. I know that we received 2 bids for watering options, 1 for tree planting, and I went through this all. And I went on our website to look to see where the bid specifications are. I try to get on there as often as I can, just so that I'm familiar with what we will be looking at when resolutions are presented to us. And I noticed that this was, I believe this is the one that was placed in the West Orange Chronicle. What is there or maybe John, this question is for you, with respect to bids, what is the process? Some are in the Star Ledger, some are on our website, many are not on our website. What is the process in order to encourage more than one bid for one project? What's the guideline here? I know it depends on the attractiveness to whoever wants to, but
it depends on what the topic is and what it is you're going out for. You try to reach out to the places that companies that you're looking for would look at. It's pretty sophisticated today when you get into the large bids, because there's companies out there that actually, as a part of the service, they find them and they take it, and as part of they sell publications to these different companies to let people know where it is. So the larger bids kind of take care of themselves to some extent. The smaller ones are it's a challenge, and there's no question about it. But it is something that we always strive to do, and we always strive to do better. You got to weigh the cost of doing that to what your benefit is. When you start going out for instance, to the ledger, you increase your cost of advertisement tenfold. So again, the smaller contracts, the less you can afford to do that kind of thing. So it's
understandable. Thank you. That was all the questions I had in that regard.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to adopt 24919?
So moved. Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Councilwoman McCartney pulled 259-19, resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with TCF Equipment Finance for a 72 pre-owned 2017 Easy Go RXV Elite golf carts maintained at Rock Spring Golf Club.
This is really an excuse or a reason to pull this just to find out. I mean, if they're asking for an additional 72 and they've acquired everything that was up there before, no, they did not.
This is a technical issue. The company that Rock Spring has contracted for their golf course are concerned that since they don't own the golf course and we do, that the township someday may claim some ownership or some interest in the golf carts. This is simply declaring that we have no interest, no legal interest in those golf carts. We're not paying anything more for them, and that their agreement that they can go ahead and have agreement between Kemper and them and the company without interference from us as the property owner. That's really what this is about. We're not paying for anything. This is a clarification on their contract.
Okay, so I guess that just raises the question that since Kemper is our management company for 2 years, and then they walk away with they become theirs, or they're not ours anymore?
No, they're renting them from this company. This is they're concerned, the owners of the equipment are concerned at some point in time, since we're not a party to their contract, that we may come in and say, well, we're not letting you on our property to go get these carts. So basically we're saying, these are not our carts, they're yours. If you want them back, you can take them back. It has nothing to do with us. So this is strictly
housekeeping, as you would say.
Yeah, maybe a little higher than housekeeping, but yeah.
Thank you.
Question, what about the carts that came with the golf course?
We don't own any carts.
Oh,
we did not get any carts.
We didn't get
any
lease.
They're all leased. They're all leased.
They're always leased?
Right. We don't own any carts. We didn't buy any carts.
So the equipment we purchased was to maintain the course then?
Yes, that's correct.
For maintenance, okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Councilwoman McCartney, you okay with that?
Yes, thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to approve 259-19?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Okay. And finally, Councilwoman Castellino pulled 261-19, resolution awarding a contract to Power with Prestige, Inc. in the amount of $88,800 for the municipal building exterior lighting project.
So, first question is, on the front page of this, there was a presentation June 24, 2019. Did I miss something, or it wasn't presented to us, correct?
No, it was not presented to you. We sent this to you. This was something that
we just got today.
Quite frankly, this was prepared for us by a resident who happens to be in this business, saying, "Hey, you could do something like this at Town Hall. Why don't you consider it?" And they brought it to our attention. So we sent this to you tonight to give you a visual idea of what this contract was about, which is basically to provide additional lighting to the front of Town Hall, to be used in a celebratory manner for community celebrations and public events.
Are we having a problem with lighting out there? Are we?
That's not what this. No, this is not about. This is solely about providing celebratory lighting that can be used in the holidays or throughout the year. Much like you do in New York, you have buildings that people are constantly looking to see, well, what's the color today, or what are they doing with it? It's a way to bring focus and bring the community together around something that could be inspiring and certainly beautiful and interesting.
Okay, so I guess where I sit with this is when we went over the capital budget, and was this on it at this time?
It was not on it. It was not on specifically. The fund. There's funds within the capital budget that can pay for this. Yes.
Okay, but so I guess where I stand with this is, and at the time I had asked if there was a possibility out of that budget if we could fix our fire station bathrooms. And I'm not sure if you ever looked into that. I know Mr. Lepore is here. $88,000, which would be really lovely, and I could see somebody wanting us to do this, but I just feel that, it's been a couple of years now, or many years now, since they haven't been repaired. Where are we at, Mr. Lepore? Is this a possibility? How much would a we have various bathrooms. I know headquarters was was pretty in bad shape.
Yes, yesterday Supervisor Lou Reynolds and I sat with Chief Vecchio and Deputy Chief Capone. We agreed upon what our next steps would be. We did roofs at firehouses 3, 4, and 5. We're going to go next to do headquarters and number 2, and at the same time put proposals together for renovating the, I'll say, the fire station one side of headquarters. That would be where the actual crews occupy that. Originally, we had thought of going into number 3 and 4 and doing similar work, but realized that number 1 is the bigger firehouse, and probably overall, while I'm not saying 3 and 4 are anywhere near in good condition, these are in worse condition than 3 and 4.
Yeah,
So that's the next step.
I guess I would like to hold off on this kind of expense. I see bathrooms as a more of a need.
Don't think of this as in lieu of doing bathrooms.
I know that, but I also...
If you want to vote against it, but it has nothing to do with funding. That's what Lenny's trying to explain. We have the funding for both options. But that's up to you. You decide what you want.
Yeah, I like to leave some money in the capital budget, because if something comes up where we could get another bathroom done, I like to have that funding there. So I wouldn't be supportive of this evening.
The only thing that I wanted to add is the reason that this was put on this evening. Bids just came in.
Sure.
And in order to get this done for this, in order to get it done for this holiday season, it would have to be awarded tonight. If you push it off from being awarded tonight, it won't be done for this holiday season. So, to the extent that, I just want to make sure you understood why.
We've had actual people who live in town talk to us about this thing. That's why.
Yeah, oh, no, and I think it's great, but when they could call me and I could explain to them, I feel the bathrooms need to get done.
Councilman Kukoviac?
I agree with Councilwoman Castellino. In a year when we've raised municipal property taxes 8.5%, this is a really nice, really nice thing to have that is not a priority for me. I'm voting against this.
Councilwoman Matute Brown.
Looking at this presentation, if this is online, I mean, it really is nice.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. And it made me think of something Marge said earlier about resetting our spirits and enhancing joy during dark days, right? I completely agree. However, to echo what both my council colleagues said, not at the tune of $88,000. Not when, we still have, and I understand, before you even say it, that there is money in the budget, but to cover the fire station bathrooms and some of the roofs. But, when we talked about upgrading the sound system here, what we were told was the hearing aid capability. However, we are living in an antiquated system when we walk in here and can't hear the speaker system over the air conditioner, or can't pull down a screen automatically with a PowerPoint presentation without all this cumbersome equipment here, but we don't have money for that. I think that we need to look at what has to happen in here so we can be more productive, as well as the staff and employees, with respect to heating and air conditioning, air purification. I would like to look at that first. And lastly, I'm sorry, $88,000 when our police officers don't have a fair contract. To me, after hearing what Mr. Babinski had to say, that to me is, I was taken aback when I saw the $88,000 for lighting, but now I'm really a hard no on that. Just wanted to express that. Thank you, Council President.
If I could just for clarification, Council did approve monies for the sound system.
Yes,
for this.
for the hearing, hearing impaired.
And for that, and for other improvements, which we're, to the extent we may or may not have to come back to Council for authorization on that. We don't think we will have to. We will be moving towards that, and hopefully right around the first of the year, we should be in a position to.
So just so that I'm clear, and sorry to cut you off, but I recall, and I may be wrong, and there have been times that I have been wrong when it comes to you, Mr. Gross, and I'm okay to say so. But the last conversation we had in council chambers, I remember it being specifically about those hearing impaired. So I would be thrilled, and so would the community and the residents and everyone, I'm sure, here on the dais, if we had better technology. I just wanted to express that.
Yes.
Thank you, Council President.
And I like to say that I concur with my council colleagues. The fact is, we have facilities where our firefighters are that are in dire need of repair and renovation. And I can't see putting money, I mean, I like festivities no less than anybody else. And I mean, yes, it's a good way of expressing, especially with Gay Pride Day, to put the lights up like some towns do with their thing. And I can understand that. But if we have this money available for the lights, I think our first responders need the facilities to be maintained the way they should be maintained. And these dollars should be allocated. If we can allocate it for the lights, let's allocate it to finishing these projects where, you know, particularly our firefighters don't have to drown in the firehouses when the roof leaks and things, or the bathrooms are still not, you know, what I would call nice bathrooms. And I mean, they live there. They spend a good portion of their time there.
And I don't think the mayor disagrees with you in any way. The mayor put forth a cadre of different projects for capital this past year and every year in order to balance what we do. And part of that, and there's a $600,000 for the firehouses that's in that, 600 additional dollars, $100,000 this year for that, as well as other projects. And the mayor put forth to us and said he would really like to see this. And we've moved to get this before you. Obviously, if this is not a priority of the council, I'm sure the mayor will understand that. But just, you know, the mayor, in presenting his balanced capital request, included many things, you know, in order to try to touch all the bases, because there are a lot of priorities in a town of this size. Yeah. So.
Yes, Councilwoman Castellano. I mean, Councilman Courtney. Sorry. Councilwoman McCartney. No,
I had this circled to pull also, but it was for a question. Len, when we did with direct install last year, when we did all of the, not all, but many municipal upgrades, we were saving a lot of money with those, with that program. Does this even fit into something like that with this LED lighting?
Well, it probably doesn't fit in because a lot of that was a retrofit.
Okay.
So this is really an
Not for new.
enhancement for the building.
So my other question is, we just voted on this tree planting with the watering option, yet the watering option we took out because we can do it in-house. Is there something that we can do in-house for less than $88,000? As far as lighting goes?
I don't think this type of lighting we're capable of doing in-house.
This is a special project.
We looked at that right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it became pretty clear to us that this was beyond our scope of doing internally.
Yes.
And that's when we decided we actually went out and had Mr. Lepore make a recommendation to a firm to put together specs and to get it to go ahead.
I think it's a great project. And last year I had a team of 25 people working on the $1 million Bloomberg grant, and a lot of it had to do with lighting municipal buildings and schools, and it was very exciting to work on. We were not awarded that $1 million, unfortunately, but I don't know that this is necessary.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to approve Resolution 26119?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Councilwoman Castellino?
No.
Councilman Krokoviac?
No.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
No.
Councilwoman McCartney?
No.
Council President Garino.
No.
A lot of residents wanted that.
Okay. Ordinances on second and final
Madam
reading.
Clerk, can I just make a statement to Mr. Lepore real quick? Just, I know time is a factor with a lot of these projects, so if we don't, as far as you bidding them out and you getting items done, but obviously bathrooms you could work through the winter, the roofs are a little different matter.
Well, you're going to see in the next few weeks proposals or recommendations for professional services for all those designs.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Ordinances on second and final reading, 2588-19, ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7-13, parking prohibited at all times on certain streets. Is there a motion to introduce on second and final reading?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes. Is there anyone from the public wishing to be heard on ordinance 2588-19? Seeing none, I close public comment. I open it to my council colleagues. Yes, Councilwoman?
I do. Len, this is for you. With these handicap parking spaces, is there a system in place about going back to check that the resident still needs this?
Are we talking Forest Avenue, or are we talking?
Oh, no, I'm talking in general. Is there a system that where you can go back, maybe this has been, not this particular one?
You'll see on the first reading tonight, there are a couple that are being eliminated because we know those residents have moved away.
So are those brought to your attention, or is there a way to follow up on that?
We know, people call us, we take the signs down, we make a note when we have an opportunity to do it as a elimination instead of in conjunction with a creation, then we list it.
That's good. Okay, thank you.
Periodically, we send the police around just to verify in case we've missed it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Is there a motion to approve 2588-19?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Ordinances on first reading, 2589-19, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 7, Traffic, subsection 7-32.1, handicap parking on streets, and subsection 7-32.2, restricted parking zones of the revised general ordinances of West Orange. Is there a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Castellino?
Yes.
Councilman Krokoviac?
Yes.
Councilwoman Matute Brown?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCartney?
Yes.
Council President Garino.
Yes.
Pending matters, new matters, and council discussion. First item A is, it's supposed to read 2020, not 2019. I apologize for the error. Finalize the 2020 council meeting dates.
That should be 2020, right?
I just said that.
I know. I just want to make sure.
Did I not? Councilman Krokoviac, I was waiting for your,
Yes.
yes, you're good with the dates?
Our marriage is good with the dates. yes.
Okay, good. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, so I will finalize them and send them out to everyone.
I'm just being funny. I'm sorry.
The second is the ABC hearing dates.
Council President, just letting you know that I spoke with Robert Williams, who represents most, if not all, of the remaining ABC licensees who have charges against them. He's back at work. He's doing better. He is trying to work out as many of these as he can. To the extent that he gets ones that can be worked out, we could put those on a regular council meeting agenda as a, part of the ABC process. But anything that would require an actual hearing, is going to require a special date. It's not going to work as a practical matter on a council meeting date. So I'm hoping that it'll only come down to maybe one or two of the licensees that we can't work things out with, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. So those are what you're looking for, a date on which you could hear the hearing, evidentiary hearing of the charges.
Okay.
Do you know?
So will we have any idea of the dates, Mr. Kaiser? Will we have an idea? I mean...
Well, I sent out an email.
You guys have to figure out between the clerk. I mean, look.
We just want to know when he'll be ready, so we don't want to just pick dates.
But he can. I think he can be ready just about any time at this point, with some of them anyway. So
what date are we looking at? Right
Well,
now?
I sent an email with several dates.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you read them off? Yeah, well, I'll read out those dates. November 7th, the 19th. Oh, I'm sorry. There was someone who was not available. So the 13th and 14th are out. So November 7th, the 19th, the 20th, the 25th, and the 27th. Also then dates in December.
Okay. I have.
Oh, I'm sorry. December 2nd, which is a Monday, December 3rd, December 5th, December 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, the 16th, the 18th, the 23rd, 26th, and 30th, probably not.
What, Mr. Kaiser, when are you, how many nights do we need to book out?
I would go with 2. If you don't need the second one, you don't need it. But I think you're best off putting 2 nights, and if you can put them together, that'd be like a Monday and Tuesday like you did before, that'd be perfect. But
You want them in November or
We have
December?
November 19th and 20th.
I mean, I don't have a dog in this race, so I don't care. I mean, I'm away. I can make any of the dates. I looked at what the clerk provided. I can make any of those dates except for the ones that Councilman Brand indicated. I'm away that. I'm at a seminar in San Diego the 13th, 14th, 15th of November. So other than that, I'm available.
Now,
And the
when is
19th and
league?
20th, I was just going to say the 19th
Yeah.
and 20th would be the league week.
The League of Municipalities.
Is anyone going?
I'm not going.
I don't know if Robert Williams is. Would he be going to that?
No.
No? Are any of the council members going?
I was planning on going.
All right, so the
No, I'm not
19th.
going to.
The 19th, but
Not
can we
this
do
year.
7 and 19?
So it would be preferable to do 2 nights in a row, in case you don't need the second
I'd
night.
rather not do it on a night we have a meeting.
Right.
I mean,
Can we do 18 and 19 instead
No,
of-
19 and 20,
Okay.
or the Monday, December 2nd and 3rd, or 9th and 10th, otherwise you're getting close to the holidays. So those are your 3 weeks that you have 2 in a row.
Here, do
Second and third?
second and third work for me.
December.
December, Monday and Tuesday.
Yep, work for me.
Yes?
Yes, for me.
What date?
December
Monday,
2nd and 3rd.
December 2nd, and Tuesday, December 3rd.
That's good for me.
Okay.
Yes?
7 o'clock?
6:30.
6:30.
Okay.
And I apologize to my colleagues for missing the last
6:30.
ABC. I will not miss this one.
Yeah, you're watching the World Series. It's okay.
No, I wasn't. I just totally forgot. It was on my calendar, but I wasn't near my calendar.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'll schedule them
We're
for
doing that?
Monday. I'm sorry.
6:30, yeah.
That works?
That
Good?
works.
Okay.
Wait, the 2nd and 3rd, right?
Yes.
Madam Clerk, can you
At
notify
6:30.
Mr. Williams
Yes.
of those dates? And
Okay.
if there's anyone he doesn't represent, then you need to contact their counsel or them directly. But I think he handles,
Okay.
is handling all of them, so at this point.
Okay.
A couple other things that aren't on here, and I'm not talking about Ridge Road, we can talk about that if you want, but a couple weeks ago, I think, Councilman Kukoviac sent an email regarding expanding weekend ABC hours, and after
I
that...
actually had that on my...
After that, I think the mayor expressed an interest in doing that. Somebody else had spoken with him, and I think he would go along with that, but he wanted to gauge what the council's feelings were about it. I think it's also appropriate that we contacted the police department about it and get their input, but first your input, because
Wait,
if
to have the
there are a
hearings
majority
on
of
it?
people of you
No, no.
involved,
No, extend the
interested, then
hours.
we don't have to go any further. But
Business.
To change the hours.
So if
The license.
this was a
No.
request that came about changing the hours to open till 3 a.m., I actually had that under pending
Absolutely
mind. But I would want to hear from the police department
Yeah.
on what happens at 2 a.m. when,
I think they're talking about Fridays and Saturdays only, not...
Yeah.
not always.
Is it just strictly to establishments that serve, not packaged goods, but establishments that serve? So presently, they're till what time?
1:30, isn't it?
Will they stop serving at
I think
1?
it's 2, isn't it?
I believe.
They close at 2.
It's 2. Remember,
We have special conditions.
any
Right.
change we make will not affect anyone with special conditions. The special conditions have restricted
Special,
hours.
okay.
That's not going to change. So this would just be for everybody else.
I'd like that conversation.
I would like to have that conversation to have the police
I like to
talk
hear the
about it.
police, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, if there's a majority of people who are interested in doing it and it's subject to the police department's input, then we'll get the police department's input and go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Kaiser, I may have asked you this at the time, but is there an easy way to determine what the standard hours are for some of the municipalities that surround us? I know I looked on the
We would be the
ABC.
first. I think we would be the first.
Other
How do you
than
know
making
this?
phone calls and...
Because I've been told.
Okay, I just didn't know whether there's a
I've been
database
talking
somewhere.
to
I would like to know
establishments,
that.
yes.
I would like to know the surrounding
I
towns
believe
as
we would
well.
be the first.
It might be,
They're all two?
it could be that the ABC division in Trenton might have that information. Can you check with them?
Yeah.
The establishments, no.
Now, are the hotels different? Then they would have to follow the town. They can't stay later, right? They would have to abide by the 2
Well, anybody
p.m.
can close earlier if they want to, but you
No,
know...
I'm saying, I don't know.
The hotels would have to
I think-
comply with, their liquor license, ABC licensees have to comply with the same.
I just think the later you stay open, the more problems could occur.
Takes care of that.
That would be their
Okay.
decision,
What?
you know, they have
Yes,
the
ma'am.
option.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Just if Mr. Kaiser's done, I just wanted to just circle back to, I've emailed with Mark Moon with respect to the medicinal marijuana ordinance. I sent him a list of questions after reviewing the ordinance carefully. I'm just going to ask that my council colleagues, if they have any questions, to please circle back with Mr. Moon. So that, and I'll forward his response to my questions individually as well, so in case you had the same questions, and then, you know, any modifications or anything that we have questions about, or anything we want to, how we want to proceed on this. So I'll
So when
forward
Mark-
those individually.
Yes, Councilwoman.
When Mark gave the presentation, you know, I know, or when you talked about having the presentation, it is going to be discussed at the planning board because we are not zoned for that, and that's what Mark was working on. So that is something that, actually the mayor took the lead on that to, you know, kind of face the inevitable. So it is something that we will hear during the re-exam of the master plan.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yes, Councilwoman.
yeah, I'm not interested in moving forward with this till after they talk about it with the master plan. I think I was a little more open to it before the panel discussion. I appreciate you having that, but I know I'm very concerned with it being cash business. There's a few concerns of mine that came up that evening, so you know, I mean, if the rest of you want to move it forward, and, you know, of course, I'll address it at that time, but I'd rather wait for the state to come out with something. I had a lot of concerns that night.
Okay, so except for executive session, we're done with the agenda.
Okay.
Good.
So you can
Make a
adjourn.
motion to go into executive session, Madam Clerk?
Well, go.
If we could, I wanted to just explain a little bit more fully there's a ton of people out there that wanted us to acquire the Ridge Road properties, and I just wanted to explain to them a little bit more than we did at public comment as to what has happened since the last council meeting. So I just wanted to just sort of go over just briefly what happened.
Yeah, I don't really think that's necessary, and I think we did that during our public comment, and the information that we received about the Faulkner Act, and that, you know, if it's the mayor's decision, or we're not going to override that decision, and that it's just not the priority at this time.
Right, I understand. I appreciate your
was my
position,
take
but
on it.
that's what I said that I was going to do during public comment. I just want to explain, the mayor is opposed to acquiring the Ridge Road properties for a whole host of reasons, most of which I think we've discussed in the last
Right.
2 or 3 meetings. But he's opposed to it, and under our charter, there's essentially nothing we can do about it, we as a council. If everybody on the council wanted to do this, there's still nothing that we could do about it. Am I correct, Mr. Kaiser? Is that a correct reading of the...
Yeah, I mean, you've expressed your intentions with respect to the issue to the mayor, and the mayor feels that it's not the right time to do this, and that's where it stands at the moment. So you can't force him to do it, and maybe his mind will change later, depending on the circumstances. All of you are free to call the mayor, talk to him, but that's his position at this point, so.
Right, and we've actually seen a couple of examples of our charter in action tonight. First, the mayor saying, no, I'm not going to move on the Ridge Road properties, and under our charter, that's his prerogative. There's really nothing we can do about it. On the other hand, we as the council are authorized to review all contracts and also to a great extent, do the budgeting. And you saw it tonight. We didn't think, for I guess a variety of reasons, that $88,000 for the LED lights that was proposed by the mayor was not something that we wanted to approve, and so we turned it down. But I'm not going to go into detail. There's World Series Game 6, so I'd like to move on.
Maybe it. We're going to executive session.
Madam Clerk?
Can we go into, and then go into executive session? Adjourning?
You can go into executive session and indicate that you're going to be adjourning immediately following. No action can be taken, so.
Right, okay.
We close the TV down then.
Yeah, not coming back.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn with the intention of, we're going to go into an executive session with the
But we're
intention
going to
of
adjourn, 'cause we're
adjourning
not
right
coming back.
after, right.
So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried.
Happy
Good night-
Halloween.
Good night, West Orange. Happy Halloween. As Councilwoman McCartney said, have a safe Halloween. Enjoy, and please go out and vote on November 5th. Thank you.